GMax Lapras is returning to Pokemon Go, and this time it can be battled remotely. GMax battles, however, are some of the most difficult battles in the game. But by the end of this video, you'll know the best counters, tips, and strategies for taking this Pokemon down as easily as possible. And I will also be pointing out some mistakes that you do want to avoid to save yourself some time and effort. So this Max Battle Day does take place on July 19th between 2 PM and 5 PM local time. But what exactly does this event have to offer? Well, for the bonuses, GMax Lapras will be appearing at all power spots, and it will cost 800 max particles to battle it. The max particle collection limit will increase to 1600. Power spots will be refreshing more frequently. You'll get 8 times max particles from power spots, and you'll get 2 additional special trades. These bonuses will be active during the 3 hours of the event, but there are more that will be active between 12 AM and 5 PM local time on the day of the event. During this time, you will get 2 times max particles from walking, and it will only require a quarter of the normal distance to get these max particles. And for these 2 bonuses specifically, you will have to collect all max particles available in your nearby menu first before they take effect. And as these are now remote raidable, the remote raid limit will be increased to 20 from July 18th at 5 PM until the 19th at 8 PM PDT. So you will be able to do 20 remote raids on each of those days. And you could also remote raid other Pokemon that are in raids at the time of this increased limit. And these aren't the only bonuses you can get access to during this event, because you do have the option of purchasing a $5 ticket that will get you a max mushroom, 25,000 XP, and you'll get the following bonuses. 2 times XP from max battles, and the max particle collection limit will be further increased to 5600. This ticket is also available on the Pokemon Go web store for the same price, but you will get a bonus max particle pack as well, which is enough to do 1 GMax Lapras battle. So if you are looking to buy this ticket, make sure you do pick it up on the web store. There is also another way you can get an extra 800 free max particles that will get you another GMax battle, and like max particle packs, these won't be affected by the collection limit either. And I will be going through how to get this later on in the video, so stay tuned for that. You will also get a free timed research starting from July 14th at 6 AM local time that will get you an encounter with Max Persimmon, some candy, and some max particles to help you take on GMax Lapras. And whilst all of this is great, you won't really be able to benefit from these bonuses much unless you know how to take this Pokemon down. And even though you can remote raid these GMax battles now, it doesn't mean you're guaranteed victory, and you could end up losing a remote raid pass if your group isn't prepared enough. So what are the best strategies you can use to ensure victory against this Pokemon so you don't end up losing passes? Well, there are some really useful strategies that you can use, but first you need to know about the roles, tanks, healers, and attackers, and what makes a Pokemon good in these roles. So briefly, a tank is a Pokemon that has high defenses and a typing that resists most of the attacks that the max battle boss can do, so overall it can take less damage. It can also be a max guard user, which gives it more health in the form of shields, and this can taunt the max battle boss to attack it more than it attacks others in the party. This is generally better when you work in a team, so you can take the heat off the attackers, which usually have stats more weighted in attack, so they are more frail and may be defeated quickly if hit often. Good tanks do often have low animation fast attacks, moves like Water Gun and Bite for example that have a 0.5 second animation time that allow them to charge the max meter quicker than other slower moves. This is in particularly helpful for strategies where you use the tank to build the max meter fast, then during the Dynamax phase you swap into your attacker and use its max attacks and then swap back into your tank and repeat. Now healers can be pretty similar to tanks in terms of you want them to take less damage and resist attacks if they can, but as they are going to be using max spirit to heal a 4 trainer party, you do want them to have a high stamina stat. This is because max spirit heals an amount that is a percentage of the user's HP. So the higher the max spirit user's HP is, then the bigger the heal will be. This means Pokemon like Max Blissey and Wailmer are very good for this role because they have a very high HP stat. And lastly, for attackers, you want Pokemon that have a type advantage over the max battle boss with strong super effective moves and a high attack stat. Their goal is to do as much damage as possible. And a quick bonus tip for further preparing against a max battle boss is that they can actually do 2 types of attacks, which will be chosen from the Pokemon's charged attack move pool. One attack is a large attack that hits all Pokemon, and this one can't be dodged. And the second is a direct attack on a specific Pokemon that can be dodged by keeping an eye on the attack feed and the 3 lines that appear above your Pokemon's head. And if you do encounter an attack combination that is particularly tricky to deal with, you can always back out of the lobby and re-lobby to re-roll the moveset. This is particularly helpful if you have certain counters that work better against certain movesets. And later on in the video, I will be going through which attacks GMax Lapras can do, which are best to avoid, and which tanks are best for which moves. Now back to the question of strategy. It is generally recommended for 6-star max battles, which you can do with up to 40 people, that you split your 4-trainer team into a tank-oriented trainer, a healer-oriented trainer, and 2 attack-focused trainers. And whilst this can be strong, especially if you do have good communication within your team, this strategy is generally used when you don't have as many people. Alternatively though, for bigger groups, you could have all players use tanks to start start off with to fill up the max meter, and then swap into attackers or healers during the Dynamax window. With whichever strategy you do find to be best in your specific situation, it does beg the question of what are the best counters for GMax Lapras. So GMax Lapras can be shiny from these battles, and the 100% IV you're looking for is 1509. It's a water and ice type, therefore it is weak to electric, fighting, grass and rock type attacks. And it will use two of the following moves in battle: Blizzard, Hydro Pump, Surf, Skull Bash, Return, Sparkling Aria, Ice Beam or Dragon Pulse. And out of these moves I would try to avoid Blizzard, Hydro Pump and Skull Bash because these moves have the highest power and could one-shot a lot of Pokemon. So if you can re-lobby to reroll away from these moves, then I would recommend it. So for tanks, there are a few options that could be useful. Firstly, Max Blissey with Pound. Even despite the fact that it doesn't resist any of Lapras's moves, this Pokemon is a great tank overall for pretty much any max Pokemon. You could also use GMax Lapras itself with Psywave. This is a good tank option as well because it is able to resist all of the water and ice type attacks. Crown Shield Zamazenta with Metal Claw is another option. It can resist all moves apart from the 3 water attacks, Hydro Pump, Surf and Sparkling Aria, and it does have the added bonus of starting with a max guard shield. These are going to be your best options for tanks, so I do recommend taking 2 of these into battle. If you do decide to take a healer, I would recommend Max Blissey being the best healer for max battles. Second to this, you could choose Max Wailord, Max or GMax Snorlax or GMax Lapras. Now for attackers, the best is going to be GMax Rillaboom with Razor Leaf. Next will be GMax Machamp with Counter, GMax Toxtricity with Spark, GMax Venusaur with Vine Whip, Max Urshifu with Rock Smash for max Knuckle, Max Zapdos with Charge Beam for max Lightning, Max Raikou with Thundershock for max Lightning, and Max Rillaboom with Razor Leaf for max Overgrowth, etc. But how many trainers are you going to need to do this battle? So these battles could be done with 10 trainers or less if you have good communication and strategy within your raid group. However, if you are remote raiding into a random group, you are going to want as many people in the lobby as you can. I'd recommend at least 20 plus people because you don't know what kind of counters these people have, and you can't really communicate with them unless you're communicating through a chat of some sort. Do remember that if you use a remote raid pass and start the battle with it, then it is technically used, so if you lose you can try that battle again, but you can't get that remote raid pass back to use on another battle. This means you really do want to make sure you've got enough people to do these battles so you don't waste a raid pass. Worth noting as well, whilst expensive to purchase, max mushrooms do double up your damage output, so it is a great item to use if you don't have a big group to do these battles with. And for the top counters for GMax Lapras, such as GMax Rillaboom, GMax Machamp and Max Blissey, you are generally going to need a lot of candy to power them up and their max moves, so it's well worth leaving multiple of them at different power spots often to try and gain some passive candy. But if you can't manage to get as much candy as you need to level up the Pokemon and their max moves, there is a certain way you can use your candy to make sure that you get the most out of your resources, because it can be tricky to know whether to power up your Pokemon first or power up their max moves first. So the best order of importance is to first fully evolve the Pokemon if you can, then power up to level 30, because after this the amount of resources to level up becomes a lot more steep and a lot less worth it. Once at level 30 you can then begin powering up your max moves, and after that you should power up to level 40 or 50. Doing it this way will get the most out of the resources you have. But how can you even tell your Pokemon is at level 30? A great way to tell is the Stardust cost for powering up. If you get to the point where the next Stardust cost requires 5,000 Stardust, that is at level 29. So if you power up 2 more times it will reach level 30, then you can focus on leveling up your max moves. Worth noting as well, you can actually recuperate a lot of Stardust that you use for powering up through the GMax Lapras battles themselves. So if you do a few of these GMax Lapras battles, I would recommend having a star piece active, because they do give 25,000 Stardust per battle, which will be 37.5k with the star piece active. And if you have the coins, you could also use 200 Poke Coins to double up your rewards to get 75,000 Stardust per battle. And not only that, but these battles are also a great way to get XP. Each GMax battle gives 25,000 XP, which will be 50k with a lucky egg and 100k if you double the rewards with 200 Poke Coins. Do note as well, if you complete these battles in person, you get an extra 2500 XP for winning. And if you're looking to get more candy for Lapras from these battles, it's always worth using Pinap Berries when catching it, and you can Mega Evolve a Water or Ice type Pokemon to increase the amount of Candy XL and XP you get per Lapras catch. For this you could Mega Evolve Blastoise, Slowbro, Gyarados, Swampert, Glalie, Abomasnow, or you could revert Kyogre. And remember to Mega Evolve whichever of these you have at the max Mega level so you can get more Candy, XP and chance for Candy XL. And because of the Water Festival event that is overlapping with this event, event, there will be a bonus that increases the amount of candy you get from a catch if you catch with a nice, great, or excellent throw. Normally you get 3 candies per catch. If you catch with a nice throw during this event, you get 4 candy. You will get 5 candy for a great throw and 6 candy for an excellent throw. So it's well worth taking a little bit more time on these Lapras catches to try and land the excellent throw. Peanut berries will also stack on top of this, so if you catch with an excellent throw and use a peanut berry, you will get 12 candies or 14 candies if you use a silver peanut. And how good exactly is Lapras in Pokemon Go? So it doesn't have any relevance as a raid attacker, but in max battles it is a strong tank with having access to a 0.5 second fast attack to fill the max meter quick, and with its decent defense stat and large HP stat. And it is that large HP stat that also makes it one of the best max spirit users in the game. As an attacker it isn't great, but it is the only Pokemon we have with an ice type GMax move. It is however in Go Battle League where Lapras shines the most. It is ranked 4 in the Great League and it's ranked 2 in the Ultra League. However, if you do want IVs like these with low attack, the best way of getting them is from catching Lapras in the wild whenever it's available. Alternatively, you could mirror trade with somebody to attempt to reroll the attack IV lower. And the lower level of the friendship when you do the trade, the lower the IV floor will be of that trade. But back to GMax Lapras, how many of these battles can you do realistically on the day? So it will take a few days prep, but if you can collect just under 1500 max particles, around 1480 for example, and then claim 300 from walking, you will be able to get close to 1800. Then on the GMax battle day, the collection limit will increase to 1600, but you can actually collect 2240 by collecting max particles from a new power spot, giving you 820 particles, then claim 600 from walking, and then collect another 820 from a different power spot. This gives you a total of 2240 for the day. And make sure to save the max particles you get from the timed research of the week leading up to the event. You will get a total of 1400 that you can keep and not claim until this day. So you will have 1780 max particles from the previous day, plus 2240 from the Saturday, and 1400 from the timed research, so you will have a total of 5420, which is enough for 6 GMax Lapras battles with 620 max particles left over. You could also hold off on claiming your max particles in the monthly Go Pass and not claim them until this day, because like max particle packs, they don't count towards the collection limit. Holding on to at least 200 will allow you to get your 7th GMax Lapras battle of the day. So that's 7 battles you can do if you're maximizing your particles. However, you can get a free max particle pack to get your 8th battle by joining a community ambassador meetup. To do this, you do need to head to the Niantic Campfire app and check your local area on the map if there is a meetup for this event being held specifically by a community ambassador. Then if you go to the meetup, you can check in via the Niantic Campfire app and you will receive a timed research. These timed researches do differ depending on the type of event you're meeting up for. And for a max battle event in particular, you will get 5000 XP for winning 2 max battles, 5 Great Balls for catching a max Pokemon, 2000 Stardust for powering up a Pokemon 10 times, and for completing all of these tasks, you'll get 800 max particles, which is enough to do another GMax Lapras battle. And as this max battle day does take place during the Water Festival, if you want to know more about that event, then I recommend checking out this video on the screen next.